Hey guys, and welcome to another brand new video. In this video, we're going to be talking about the fact that Sony themselves are a little bit upset. We're seeing Xbox being pretty happy, and as well, we're kind of seeing some pretty big progress finally going on when it comes to all this huge Activision acquisition, and as well, even more drama coming out from both sides when it comes to upcoming games, Xbox exclusives, what's going on with the deals, and everything else in between. So we're going to go talk about this, talk about the ongoing news, and as well, hope all of you guys have had a fantastic, lovely Easter. We've actually had a pretty chilled time over here with my fam. I'm going to be doing some drinking up on Twitch. If you guys are bored and want to hang out over there, I'll have that link down below. And as well, if you guys want to follow up the Twitter or subscribe to the YouTube channel for more news, feel free to. As well, make sure you guys leave a like if you guys want to. All the brand new Amazon links down below for consoles up on sale. And let's talk about some nice little juicy drama over here. So in case you guys have been living under that rock, and also then once again have been living even more underneath that rock, because we've talked about it so much on the channel, Activision is trying to be bought out by Microsoft, and of course as well, that leads into a lot of big drama. We've kind of been seeing the brand new updates, and it does kind of seem like a lot of these really big European authoritative figures are actually now finally slowly approving and kind of pushing for more of a positive feedback on the loop itself. But one big thing is that Sony, obviously as one of the bigger competitors towards Xbox, has not been happy. No one is happy on that side. They're trying their best still to go and find any hole that can go and happen. And of course, we still are waiting for like the American FTC and other various like basically news regulations to kind of come out over here to stop it or go and like basically object it towards it. But as of right now, the CMA does kind of seem like it's pushing a little bit towards this deal will actually be going through. So we have two major big stories kind of in combination to give you guys some updates on why Sony is very, very upset, and while Microsoft is kind of feeling a bit good about it nonetheless. So very first and foremost, Microsoft is now welcoming this huge CMA U-turn on this Activision deal. Sony also goes and decrees that it's basically an irrational decision, calling it out and saying like, hey, like this is not cool, it's not a vibe. So meanwhile, the university professors tell the UK regulator cloud gaming is also not a big distinct market, and they're now trying to go and separate these things even more and more. Where number one, they have the pure Xbox versus PlayStation, big old debate, the good old console wars. Then they have the Call of Duty and how much of a big impact it does in the gaming, and of course as well, once again, the big cloud gaming back and forth where everyone keeps on saying this is a big deal. So we're going to talk about the fact that Microsoft is pretty happy about this, where Microsoft and Sony have responded to the competition and market authorities' revised findings that the former's purchase of Activision Blizzard will not harm competition in the console space. Now, that still has been really big up for debate, where a lot of folks are just not really sure how to feel, what they're going to do with it, and everything else in between. So the CMA said last month that making Activision's games, including Call of Duty exclusive to Xbox ecosystem, would be a significant loss making under any plausible scenario for Microsoft. And obviously right now they have been trying to push the 10-year deal. They've also been trying to push Nintendo. They've been trying to go push on Steam. They're trying to push pretty much on even Nvidia, and they're trying to make sure it works and kind of gives as much of a free bonus as they can. The UK regulators have now published responses from the two platform holders, with Microsoft welcoming the addendum to the original provisional findings. Microsoft has been clear since the announcement of the merger. It has no intentions to withhold or degrade access to Call of Duty or any other Activision content on PlayStation itself. Once again, though, I'm still skeptical. Mainly because they could always go do a U-turn, and so far there's even been drama so far with Redfall, which we'll cover up in a second. And basically such a strategy would be in direct contrast to the interest of gamers in the UK, and then also around the world. Rather than limit choice or access, Microsoft intends to use the merger to bring more games to more people on more platforms and devices overall. Which once again, if they kind of stand by this, it seems very nice and chill and good and productive, and I think that's actually a really good vibe. I think at the end of the day, I think it's good. I like the idea of it. I think it's cool. I like it. So big thumbs up with that one. So Sony, though, is this where it kind of gets a little more on the heated and more drama-filled. Sony, meanwhile, said that the CMA's reversal of its position is surprising, unprecedented, and also irrational. Sending much of his 11-page response detailing the errors it believes the UK regulator made in calculating the lifetime value of an average gamer for either platform. And this is where Sony kind of gets a little bit more heated, because they're like, hey, like we know this is not a good vibe. We do not want this vibe. We don't want this to keep happening. So we're kind of trying to go push against it. So Sony Interactive Entertainment respectfully submits that the addendum does not justify the CMA's U-turn on the console's theory of harm, the company wrote. Sony claimed the model the CMA used was biased towards finding that Microsoft had no incentive to withhold Activision's games from PlayStation, and also ignores, without sound reason, the analyst of other evidence in the provisional findings regarding Microsoft incentives. So basically for this, they're trying to go and say like, hey, yeah, obviously Microsoft has a lot of perks to go and, well, keep pushing for this. It has a lot of good vibes with them. It makes a lot of sense. So obviously they want to go and keep it. Like basically Sony knows that like over time, people are going to ask about it. They're going to be upset with PlayStation. They may even move on to this on the next, like say, they may not go buy a PS6 because they want to get an Xbox X2 or whatever it might go and be. And I think I would actually agree on that take. Like, I think it actually is a proper take, not trying to side on Sony's side, but it does make sense. Like, if you have Call of Duty and all these other really big games, Overwatches, etc., if they're basically getting first deals, you're getting better deals on Game Pass, whatever it might be, it just makes a lot more sense. So Sony claimed the model the CMA used was biased towards all this type of stuff, and that's a big thing to note too, is that, like, they're like, hey, so why are you not looking this rationally? Why are you kind of letting Sony kind of, fall out? So to reach a robust decision, the CMA should revisit its analysis of Microsoft's incentives and partial foreclosure, correcting for the errors identified in this paper, the PlayStation response concluded. So basically, PlayStation would be like, hey, we want to double look on this because we might keep on getting, screwed over. We don't want that to go happen. While the CMA no longer believes Microsoft's ownership of Activision Blizzard would substantially lessen competition in the console space, it maintains its concerns around the cloud gaming and Activision portfolio, giving Microsoft a distinct advantage in the space. So when it comes to this one, they are still debating on this one for consoles, but once again, it's always been going back to this cloud gaming, or cloud gaming is a big issue. Microsoft reiterated that it has proposed remedies to assuage this concern, including licensing out Xbox and Activision Blizzard games to other cloud gaming services, as it already done 10-year deals, though, with Nvidia, Boosteroid, and Ubiquitous, and also that kind of includes things, like Nintendo and stuff like that. Not only does this show that Microsoft has no ability to withhold Activision content from rival cloud gaming services, given the presence of legally binding and enforceable agreements from these providers, it's also clear evidence of Microsoft's intention not to withhold Activision content from other cloud gaming services, the Xbox firm wrote. The analysis of both Microsoft's ability and incentives should be updated accordingly to reflect this development. Simply put, the CMA has found no incentive to withhold Activision content in relation to console, and as evidence shows, it should reach the same conclusion in relation to cloud game streaming. Now, I still think cloud game streaming is very, very on its infant stage, and it would make a lot of sense of why it's kind of iffy, what's going on with it, etc., etc., but one of the bigger things to go and note is that it's just a big deal. Like, we don't know. There's a lot of what ifs and what owns, and we only kind of know on what Xbox is going to be saying they want to go and do and what they want to conclude in the future. In a document published alongside these responses, Joost Rijveld, Associate Professor of Strategy and Entrepreneurship at the University College London School of Management, observed that there is a significant ambiguity as to what exactly cloud gaming is. And I do kind of agree too, because it just seems like this deal is so big that you kind of can't really be too willy-nilly. I'm okay with it. Like, at the end of the day, I think Microsoft's working hard, and if they do kind of stick with all these commitments, they're fine. But at the same time, it makes sense of why Sony's concerned, why they're worried about it, because it is a $70 billion deal that will be impacting them, and no matter what, it will be a negative thing for them regardless. They're going to have to go and kind of, fine-tune and go against it. So Revelt argues that cloud gaming is not a distinct market, but instead refers to 4 types of gaming services that each rely on cloud streaming technology. Cloud gaming as a feature, as seen on Xbox Game Pass, which is a big deal, because PlayStation has PlayStation Plus, but it's not big on cloud gaming. Cloud gaming is a complement, such as NVIDIA's GeForce Now and Boosteroid. Cloud gaming is an input, as with the Ubiquitous in-game stream, and then cloud gaming is a platform. So basically, it's kind of saying that there's all these various other big features that could affect a lot of different things, and it does, affect everything. Like, we don't necessarily know where they want to focus on, where they want to expand, and what other regions are kind of lower on the side too as well. And that's why Sony's also upset, because they can't really compete with that as of now, or they'd have to go and start developing stuff, or hopefully have already that in development in the general sense. His conclusion, he wrote, consumerism's willingness to pay for standalone cloud gaming services apparently is low. That's perhaps the strongest indicator that cloud gaming should not be considered a distinct market. So trying to go and say that, like Sony, you just got to deal with it at the end of the day. Cloud streaming is potentially a promising distribution method that will very likely continue to be used, which I would agree on too as well, and relied upon with various extents by different companies as well. But also kind of a big deal too is still on the Redfall, where Redfall actually has made official statements calling out Arcane Studios' Harvey Smith and putting basically himself in these all really awkward situations in general when it comes to these big cancels. Now, if you guys want me to, I'm actually going to make another bigger article, mentions this too as well, but it just kind of seemed like the PlayStation 5 deal was gone, and then also kind of goes and impacts and mentions this on all these really big court cases going on. Because once again, this is like just kind of showing like a direct impact where things can not necessarily be the best, and people get worried about what's going on with all of this. And I do kind of agree that Sony should be worried, but it does kind of seem like most big government bodies don't really necessarily care that much, and it does kind of seem like the Xbox deal is probably going to end up going through. When it comes to this stuff too as well, Sony keeps on trying to pull all these hards. They're not happy with this. They want to make sure that if Microsoft spends $80 billion, including Bethesda, that the market's not going to completely shift in their favor, and that's why we have all these really big government bodies worried about this stuff, such as the CMA, etc. So Sony is upset. They kind of did all these counter files. They're trying their best to make their way on through, and they don't want to deal with this too much more, but it does make sense too, because they even say, this experience provides further compelling evidence of Microsoft's ability and incentives to foreclose rivals to acquire games, together with likely conduct post-transaction with respect now to Call of Duty and all the other various games. So like I said, Sony's not happy. Do you guys think that Sony would actually even be happy with any of these deals? Let me know in the comment section down below. So I'll make sure you guys are subscribed with the notifications on. We have the Twitter and Twitch stream down below with all the Target links, Amazon links, and everything else. And hang on the Twitch stream too in a little bit if you guys want to, and happy Easter as well.